Welcome to Marci in the Middle. In honor of Mother's Day, I'm having my mom Cindy join me on the podcast. She is beautiful inside and out. She's strong, funny, smart, caring, and the absolute best mom and grandmother in the world. So join us as we get started. Welcome to Marci in the Middle. Today I have a very special guest, definitely my favorite person that's been on so far and probably that will ever be on. It's my mom, Cindy Burks. Welcome to the podcast, Mom.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
It is our exciting Mother's Day edition, and I thought it would be fun just to talk to Mom, and I know how awesome she is, and most of y'all probably already know how awesome she is, but you may not know all of her story, and we're going to just dig right in and get to the bottom of things. Okay, so since it's Mother's Day, we got Mama here with us.
Yes.
And why don't you just kind of jump in and tell a little bit about your young child life?
Well, I was born in 1947 after the war, one of those babies. My mother and dad had an older brother, 7. And Dad graduated from dental school when I was 2. We moved to Colgate. People from Atoka loved my dad. We didn't have a dentist. Came over and asked them to move to Atoka. So I came here in 1952, been here 50 years, and been here 70 years. Have had a wonderful life here, had a great life as a little child.
And okay, so you grew up after World War II, and people my age, I mean, we read and study about it, but what was life like then? What did a typical day look like when you were a kid?
Well, when I was little and remember, Daddy got up, we had breakfast, he went to work at the office, came home for lunch, went back. But we lived out behind Walmart in the blue house that Jimmy and Cindy used to live in. And, lots of fun. That was country then. There was nothing but the truck stop.
Okay.
So I wandered around outside. Jim was still home. He could ride bikes clear down to the back of Walmart. We had a horse, just outdoors. It was wonderful. Quiet, flowers, good life.
Yeah. So Mama stayed home at that point.
Yes.
When you guys were in school, and then it's kind of like Leave It to Beaver. Like that.
It was.
That's a little bit what
it was. She helped Daddy occasionally, but in between assistants. But she was home. We had meals. We had fun.
Really good meals.
Yeah. We played, went to Colgate. I had piano lessons. Jim had cattle. We had a horse. Good times. Eventually, Daddy built a pool because I wanted to go water skiing at Lake Atoka, and he was worried about the trees.
How funny.
So we built a pool, enjoyed that. Lots of friends. We've lived so far out, people thought, 2 miles. Mother had to go get my friends, bring them out, and take them back because their parents thought it was so far out. But we were the only house there. It was very much fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think people probably don't know this, but I can remember some of Mama's friends probably didn't even drive. I mean, back then,
No,
all of the women did not have driver's license.
No, all of them didn't.
So
we were on the edge, and we had one car for a while.
Yeah.
So she was home, and we had good times. You know, I know that there were things were not perfect.
Right.
But to me they were. And ups and downs. When I was thinking about it, I thought we did have consequences to behavior. This is skipping around from a little child. But if you were caught racing your car, the car was parked. If you went to the preview on Saturday night, you sure were going to get up and go to Sunday school Sunday morning. And that was a lot of our lives. We went to church, we went to ball games, we had dinner at night. Things were much calmer.
Right.
Probably no cell phones was most of the reason why.
Yeah.
But I know it wasn't perfect, but it was great.
Yeah.
And we had Lawrence Welk on Saturday night. Mom and Daddy danced on the linoleum floor. Just a good, happy life.
Happy life. I know Uncle Jimmy had polio. So how old were you when that happened?
Well, he had polio, bless their hearts, when Daddy was in dental school.
Oh, okay. Before here.
He had polio. I was a child, drank after him, everything. Very scary. Dad and Mother had taught me a lot about sacrifices and how you just do the thing. All the men were from World War II in dental school.
Mm-hmm.
They lived together. They did without. Daddy sold blood to buy baby food, worked in Baylor Hospital
Yeah.
as an orderly to make money. And then Jim got polio. He would go sit with him at night while Mother stayed in the house with me.
Yeah.
Just what we think would be a hard life. They all lived like that.
Yeah. Well, and they were super close. I mean, I
They were all
remember
super close.
the 49ers
Yes.
from Baylor, and
They met for 50 years
yeah,
till
best
no
friends
one could
until
meet.
they couldn't
And
be anymore.
and they did teach me good things about. I expected nothing when I married,
Right.
which was 1966. I just knew when you get married young, you work hard, and
You're not going to have
you're
any
sure
money.
not going to have a vacuum cleaner or rugs on the floor or a couch that is not pink that was your grandmother's.
Yeah.
And this is how it is. Daddy
Yeah.
sold a lot of blood, I think.
That's right.
Literally. But I'm glad they taught that because
Yeah.
then it was okay. We didn't have to measure up to anything
Mm-hmm.
marrying at 19, 20.
Right.
You go to college, you work 4 jobs, you do whatever, but
Yeah.
you have a blast at night playing cards all
Mhm.
night. I mean, life is still good.
Yeah. And we've lost a lot of that nowadays.
Expectations.
Well, yeah,
are
the
much
expectations
different
are
now.
high, and then just the simplicity of life and the simple things that make it good.
That make it
Or
good. Yeah.
sometimes we don't take time to do that. Okay, so you have your friends, and then you get to high school, and what did you
just
guys
had a
do
blast.
for fun?
Oh, easy things. Well, in high school, you get to do all the activities. So lots of friends of mine were in activities also. And we tried out for cheerleader and majorette and did in all the ball games. But my friends, closest friends, were Graceland Fina, who lived right behind us by then, and Pat Jones McDonald was a majorette with me. And we hung out together. Practiced, we sang together. We had an octet in high school with Nanny Lou Dodson. Always music.
Yeah.
Went to state, won everything. Those 8 girls of us have kept in contact through the years. Just got together with a few of them about 3 weeks ago. But just the best times. Slumber parties, football games, a dance afterwards maybe.
Yeah.
And spent the night. Set up, listened to records.
Yeah. So you were in high school
Chased
in the early
boys.
60s. Yeah, you got to chase the boys. And I know, like, Helen Ann was another one of your best friends. We probably shouldn't have named any because
Yeah, we
probably
can't
gonna
leave them
some
all out.
But I know who the stories are all with. So what did you ever get in trouble with any of these girls?
Oh, I did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of them was Helen Ann. I think Pat was in the car. I have to tell this story on Nanny Lou. Dodson was our vocal music teacher. She also played bridge with my folks. And at the annual Christmas bridge party, we knew that Margaret Hames, Helen's mother, my folks, Pat McDonald's folks were all busy. So instead of going to mixed chorus practice with Nanny Lou for the Christmas program, Helen Ann stole Margaret's car from the bridge party. We drove to Colgate, flirted with 3 boys that we were slipping around dating occasionally.
She
Came
said
back
slipping,
home.
not sleeping, just for the record.
No, what did I? Yeah, slipping, sneaking over to see them occasionally while we were dating other guys. So we get home. Nanny Lou goes to the Christmas party late and says, "Where were your girls tonight?"
Uh-oh.
Well, my folks thought I was at mixed chorus practice, and so did everyone else's. So when I get home that night, parents say, "How was mixed chorus tonight?" "Good. You didn't even go. Go to your room. We'll talk about this later." So I was grounded. I was not quite 16. That was the problem. Anyway, The worst part was I was going steady with Morris, and I had to tell him I couldn't go out. And
Oh,
the
no.
reason I couldn't go out, that was a little touchy. Anyway, but
That's
we
right.
we got in trouble a few times. Our biggest thing was probably if somebody brought a few cigarettes to the latest slumber party and stole those from their mothers or
Yeah.
fathers. Thought we were really living on the edge.
Y'all were cool.
We were. We ate a lot and listened to records.
That's right. Okay, so you graduate high school, and tell a little bit about going to college and what your plan was and what Mama and Papa's plan was.
Oh, goodness. Well, their plan was for me to go to OU and stay kind of close to home,
Yeah.
do the whole sorority thing, and then another option came up that it was a big to-do to go to a girls' school then. So I interviewed, or they came to my home, asked me to join their college up there. So I went to Christian College, but in a nutshell, went to Christian College in Missouri for a year, girls' school. Really had a good time. The kids think that had to be prison, but it was really good. No cars, absolutely. But anyway, lots more music, lots more getting to perform, and good times. And I think Morris came to see me and literally went off a mountain.
Oh, wow.
It was so late at night.
Yeah.
Got back, made it back, but it was a very slim social life, so to speak. Lots of good food and fancy clothes.
I do remember you talking about when the newspaper would come, when you would get the Atoka County Times, that your roommates would gather up and wanted to read the paper because it was
Yes.
so much like Mayberry.
Yeah, because it
They
really
couldn't
was
believe
like
it.
that. Came to my wedding, thought there might still be horses tied
On
up.
the
Literally
prairie.
asked if there were horses downtown. So anyway, yeah, read the County Times for the jokes.
That's funny. So when you came home after your first year and then got married, or no?
I did.
Okay.
Came home. Morris and I was still dating. Married with a condition. My dad was very stern, very serious. The condition was, you will finish college, both of you. And he did fund quite a lot of it.
Yeah.
But we did, went to school. People did that then. You
Yeah.
could go to school in the morning, work in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So we had lots of jobs, multitude of very different jobs, and made enough money to pay our $45 a month rent
Yeah. You lived in Atoka
in Atoka.
and drove to Southeastern?
Yes.
And
Carpooled with people that I knew, and we did graduate.
What
So-
was your major? What did you major in?
Music ed and elementary.
Okay.
So I owe the music ed desire to 12 years of piano lessons in Colgate and Nanny Lou Dodson, Mr. Rush, band director.
Yeah.
Wonderful times. In the middle of that, I think Betty Sullivan moved, who was our music director at First Baptist.
Okay.
I was probably a senior in college, and they asked me to do the music program, all of them,
Oh, yeah.
at First Baptist Atoka, and that was really, really a wonderful experience
Yeah.
to do. And she had done such a good job. And
forgot
so
about
I
that.
did that for a while till I had you, I guess.
Then her favorite child showed up on the scene.
Yes.
That's right. And life was never the same.
You're right about that.
That's right. So then,
But I taught school 3 years
oh, yeah.
and enjoyed that. But I really, I was ready to have a baby. All our friends were having children, and I really wanted to have a baby. And finally, I did, and
Yeah.
here came little Marci Suzanne. Had a good time with her.
That's right. And then 3 more to follow. So
Yes, that was interesting. Then we had Mark 2.5 years later. And we didn't have the babies very easily, but then my Mindy was born 1 year later than Mark, and Michael 1.5 years after Mindy. So we had quite a little tribe by then.
That's right.
And Marci was the boss
yeah, I'm still the boss, and they know it.
and the helper.
Did you know that you wanted to have a lot of kids? Like, did you want to have more than one kid?
Oh, I
Like-
did. Yeah,
From
I always did. And I think I really admired Betty Sullivan a lot. I've thought about this lately. And I enjoyed that she had children and enjoyed them and lived easily.
Mm-hmm.
But also, we didn't have any relatives.
Yeah.
I had Jim, who was 7 years older. He had moved out
Mm-hmm.
at 19, so I was basically an only child. We had 2 or 3 cousins. Mother was an only child. And I really wanted a house full of
Yeah.
kiddos.
Yeah.
So
So you got them.
I did. Real
And
fast.
we had a good time when you did.
I did. I had a lot of fun.
So what was it like? I was born in 71.
Right.
So, and then Michael was 77 or
Mhm.
so we
Yeah,
were
you
growing
were
up in
5
the
and a half.
70s and 80s.
Oh, it was
basically.
wonderful. Yeah.
Michael in the 90s. I mean, kind of from childhood to high school. So what would you say? I mean, I remember nothing but good times. I probably should have gotten Kleenex because
Well, we did have. I did realize too when I wrote 1971, because that's when you were born, and we were going. It was good for me to write all this down. Anyway, that is when this latest movie started.
the Jesus Revolution. Yeah.
And we were in on that. And we really had a small one, I guess you say, here in Atoka.
Mm-hmm.
During the 70s, we just had revival in all the churches here.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful time to be a young couple,
Mm-hmm.
have babies. We had a lot of young couples
Yeah.
in our church, and it was just good times. And then when I had children, I wanted to have a good time. I wanted you to feel very special
Mm-hmm.
and loved, and that was just easy. I see that now. I just already thought that. And we had grandparents here
Mm-hmm.
that were excited, and I was very, very, very blessed. I'm not going to leave that out, that I was able to financially stay at home.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I had a good time.
Yeah.
I had help. And I told you the other day about Mama saying, when I was holding you at 2.5, holding Mark at 2.5, when you were 2.5, he was still a baby. He was like 4 months old. And I was expecting Mindy. And Mother looked at me and said, "You know what? You need to find some help because you're going to need it."
Yeah,
she didn't
she
want
was
to
right.
do all of it.
She was
So
right.
I did get to have help. Florine Britt.
Yes, Florine.
stayed. She was our nursery worker at First Baptist.
Yeah.
So Florine Britt came every Monday, and that was a lifesaver. And
Yeah.
then if we wanted to run around, Iva Stanfield would come.
Yes.
If there was a business trip somewhere, and she would fill in. Plus, Mother and Dad were in town, and Leola and Monroe.
Yeah.
But I realized I had a wonderful thing,
Yeah.
and I still never sat down. It was very
No,
busy.
you did not. I do not ever remember you sitting down.
But we had
one
lots of
time.
fun. We swam and played and
Yeah.
sat in the floor.
We
The
also
house
had good food.
was trashed.
That's right.
The house was never picked up. We ate a lot and played a lot
Mm-hmm.
and did chores, but it was
Yeah.
very much fun. I enjoyed
Yeah.
my life tremendously. And church was a huge part
Mm-hmm.
of our social life, and
Yeah.
that was,
Mm-hmm.
our friends went. We had all the activities,
Yeah.
Sunday school, Bible school.
Yeah.
And that was the time when really ladies' Bible studies began.
Just
Kay
kinda-
Arthur
yeah.
came out,
Yeah.
Joyce Meyer later, Elizabeth Elliot was
Uh-huh.
there,
Yeah.
and Beth Moore came out in my later
Yeah.
younger adult years.
Yeah.
Just fine
Mhm.
teaching and
Yeah.
Bible school, Falls Creek,
Yeah.
everything that I
A
did.
lot of things
was a
centered
lot of
around
fun.
church in our life and
School,
it's- Yeah.
church, birthdays,
Yeah.
and relatives. By then we had
Mhm.
Benna and Ronnie Cochran,
Also had a
the
bunch
in-laws.
of kids. That's right.
Also had a group and got one more. And so they had 5 children, and my life was very blessed. My
Yeah.
brother had 3, and couldn't have asked for
Yeah.
more fun.
Yeah. I mean, everyone probably, I don't know how everybody feels about the time when they grew up because that's sort of all you know. I mean, you
Mhm.
don't know anything to compare
Anything
it to.
else, yeah.
But I know that I had the best.
Had a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And thank goodness for the huge VCRs.
And the
Cameras
huge
that you lugged
microwaves.
around
That's right.
on your hip
Yeah.
and hung
Mm.
out of sportscasting boxes filming.
Yeah.
So as I look back, lots of laughs,
Yeah.
lots of fun, and memories
Yeah. Those were
of that.
very good times. Yeah.
So
We went from the little Super 8 Polaroid camera on Christmas morning that we probably all have cataracts now because of the blinding light. And then y'all moved to the, basically
Onward.
200-pound camera that you carried on your shoulder that all the parents had at the
At
ball games, the
and
choir
the choir
concerts, and
programs.
yeah, and we now all have the VHS tapes
And now
that
we
you
have
can't
our
play on
phones.
anything. You better
Yeah.
convert to video. Now the cell phones, I will say that's a perk. You can.
That is a perk.
You're not
going to
have
enjoy
to
it.
have your back realigned after,
After you
filming
do
the football
that.
game.
But all of
But
your
yeah.
lives were very much. It was very lively. Lots of little
Yeah.
motor scooters and
Yeah,
motorcycles and swim parties and
yeah,
and
Yeah.
picnics and
yes.
easy things.
Just a lot of things outside.
that were just easy.
Yeah,
Playing.
Yeah.
It didn't have to be a big thing.
no, and people did. You had your friends
And
over,
we
and
got to go. I was fortunate. I got to go to
yeah,
Falls Creek and be a sponsor. We went to Falls Creek once because we were sending 3 to Junior Falls Creek. We thought we darn sure better be sponsors.
yeah. You better go help control the chaos.
You don't just ship off these
That's right.
3. Especially
right.
took Mindy when we sponsored you. I remember, and she fell off the top bunk,
Yeah.
and we hope she didn't break an arm.
Yeah,
And I got to do a lot of that, a lot of
Yeah.
Bible school
yeah,
and high school activity. Just
Mm-hmm.
everything that was pleasant
yeah.
was fun.
It was fun. That's right.
I'll have to say nothing until I was 40. Ever. 'Cause
Right.
A lady asked me once after Mark had died, she said, "Do you mean nothing bad ever happened to you
Mm-hmm.
until you were 40? I said, no. I
Yeah.
had a Cinderella life. Of course, my folks had issues or finances or health problems, but nothing
You
big.
did have things, but yes,
Just normal things.
Right.
And
Yeah.
no, I had a blast.
Yeah.
So, and she said, well, I didn't, and most people don't. So
Right.
we're very blessed.
Yeah,
But I was blessed too, as I was thinking about this, all those years that we call the Jesus Revolution, the 70s on, so much Bible study,
mm-hmm.
so much scripture
Mm-hmm.
and study for your age all the way up
Yeah,
to us. It was just intensified.
mm-hmm.
And it was a joy. We had preachers that said, or when Dwayne Finley said, everybody go out. You don't have a Bible, not a new lot of young people that adults hadn't been
Right.
Christians before.
Yeah.
He said, go buy this Bible. I'll be preaching out of it, and you're going to learn. And we did
Yeah.
so much of that really
Yeah,
later
Prepared
in
you.
life prepared you for a lot of things.
yeah. I know one of the things. I don't know where I put it.
Excuse me.
One of the things that
Oh, gosh.
that you did was sing with
Yes.
sunlight. Okay, so look here, the vinyl
Look
people.
at that group.
Yes, most of these ladies are still in Atoka County, and you can get their autograph basically at Sonny's Grocery or anywhere. A few of them have gone on to be with the Lord and are missed, but good times.
Yes.
Good times here.
Doc Ware was here as our music minister, and his wife Donna, who's very talented. A lot of us sang together. Lots of young couples were there. And so he said, we'd sing at church, try to meet
Let's
together.
start a band.
And he said, okay, girls, what do you think? Let's meet and start singing on Monday nights. And, of course, he and his triplet brothers had sung for Billy Graham and all
Yeah.
over the place. So he said, let's do Monday nights. I bet we can make a record. So all of us talked with our husbands, and they financially
Kicked in to
supported
support
it.
your.
They bought some records that are still here. But we had a blast. Every
Yeah.
Monday night we met, sang, laughed. And once again, I was very blessed because
Yeah.
Florine would stay on Monday night,
Yes,
clean up
and
the
you could
kitchen.
escape.
And I walked out and said, see y'all. No, just got to have the best
Yeah.
time.
Well,
That
and
was-
times they were good in a lot of ways, and they were also, depending on if you were a woman or a person of color, they were
Exactly.
less good. And for that,
Yes.
for that time, that was kind of a big deal for women. I mean, we women were not empowered even as much as they are today. And
Oh,
while we
no.
still have a long way to go, we've come a long way. But that was a huge gift for you guys to get to. And I'm proud that you did
To
it,
just be
because
gone
to say
to
we're
say
going to go do
goodbye.
this.
Yeah.
And it was really everyone in the group was
Yeah.
a variety of ages, had kids.
And we
Some of
have
them were
lots of
single, some of
children.
them were married, some of them it was easy to escape, some of them escape, I mean just get away. But it was not very common. And I think one thing people my age now, and really a mom of any
Right.
age, you better schedule some time where you can get away.
Yeah, it was very
And
fulfilling.
make some time for yourself and with
Yes.
some friends.
Yes.
Because you are going to need those people
need
later.
those girlfriends.
These same people that are on the record are still some of your dearest and closest friends.
Right.
And you guys went through a lot of things.
And a lot of us have been through different trying
different
situations.
things. Yeah, I mean, there were
All
women
of us
having
have.
miscarriages at this
Yes.
point that I
Uh-huh.
remember, and everyone would
Yes.
circle up and help each other. Some of
Yeah.
them could not have children. Again, some of them were single parents. They
Right.
faced all kinds of normal things that we still do,
Yes.
and that was your
Yes.
tribe, and they were in it for the long haul. And I think advice. Well, I don't know what your advice would be. I'm going to ask you that in a minute. But I think even at my age now, I think you better find some people and community. And we've talked about that almost on every podcast. But you cannot do this life
Alone.
alone.
Right. And you have to be honest
Yeah.
with one another. These were real trustworthy women. Your friends, and most of our friends that are dear are and
Yeah.
have been. But we were able to say the truth. As I look at that picture, no one was hiding something.
Right. You were vulnerable with each other.
We were vulnerable.
Yeah.
We didn't just pour out our everything all over the table. But you had a couple that knew you were struggling. Or we had some divorces. We had some hard situations.
People with
some
mental
with
health
financial
issues. Yeah.
situations.
Depression
And some disease that we didn't know what it was even at the
Right.
time with one of our younger ladies.
yeah.
And now we do, such as lupus and autoimmune diseases. And we were still there. Nobody was judging.
Right.
We just hung in there and knew some went back to college, some all regular life.
Yeah, regular life, but you shared it.
But we were blessed to get, we were in that generation to get to do that. And not just stay home and pretend that everything was wonderful and never get out.
Right. Well, real
Lots
life
of challenges. Because it is
real life
real
does
life.
happen. Yeah. And kind of hitting on that note, you have always said during the good, the bad, the ugly, you've always been a person of a lot of gratitude, which I think
It's
is
huge.
huge
Yes.
and has probably helped you get through some stuff. But you have had a good life, a wonderful life, and a lot of good
Yes.
times. But you've had some significantly hard things that have happened too, and just kind of working through that. I guess 1988, I was a senior.
Yes.
It was November, spring, Thanksgiving break,
Yeah.
and that's when Mark was killed, and kind of our family faced one of the biggest, probably for sure the biggest trauma that we've experienced as a group, and kind of the first thing, because we were all young and we had not had anything tragic to that level happen till then. So tell a little bit about just about that and kind of how that was as a mom to lose a child. Unfortunately, we know way too many people that have lived the same story, and you do a great job of ministering to people who have lost kids. But just walk us through a little bit of that time, the hard, and then talk about some of the things, some of
Okay.
the sweet things
Good. Yeah.
that came out of that.
Well, it was very, to say the least. We were having still a really good time. Obviously, I've said that several times, but you all were all in school. Michael was sixth grade, Mark was eighth. They played middle school football together. Mindy was a little middle school cheerleader, big deal. You were in high school, head of the flags, doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
And our three little foster children had been placed. That had been there all summer.
Yeah, we'd had them. Mm-hmm.
And then just a total accident happened on Monday of November 21st, 1988. Mark left the house with his toothbrush in his back pocket and a comb, I think, waved at us.
Sure, some kind of
after
hair
we'd
product.
worked all day
That's right.
outside picking up leaves. Wonderful day. And went to spend the night, and a gun accidentally went off and shot him, and Ritters were at our window knocking on the window. And I knew that was a possibility as we left and prayed. Went to the hospital in my nightgown at 10:30 in robe and said, in God, as I turned the corner to go up there, if he's not okay, you're going to have to be there, in my head. And half the town was there before we got there. But that was a terrible thing. The worst thing I could imagine ever happening. And I had God totally held us together, or we wouldn't even be alive. I really believe that in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just the worst possible thing.
Yeah.
And so we went home. I thought he was still alive, and he wasn't. But went home and had you all there, and people came to our home and stayed with us. But that was the worst time of my life so far, and of course is.
Yes,
still.
please let it be. Uh-huh.
But then you've told me don't make it all good. Don't say only the good part, because it was terrible. I mean, it was very gut-wrenching, and it was very hard for me to watch you all. I was very concerned that we were going to make it. And our marriage was shaky. Then things were not good. And we did the funeral. We spoke. God opened doors for us to be able to speak to the children at school, to help, give answers, talk about safety, anything that would help. We had so much help, and still,
Yeah.
helping us grieve, walking with us, friends. And of course, my concern was you all, because you're little. Michael was 11 and a half. Mindy had just turned 13, Mark just 14, and you had just turned 17. And I thought, I looked it up. I think the name of the book was Hello, Margaret. Hello, God, it's Margaret.
Yeah.
And I remember telling you, of course, some of this. But I did think, okay, dear Lord, God, you better come through, because I probably might die of a broken heart. And I have these three little people here, still here. This can happen. I've always taught, because we taught a lot of young people
Sunday
in Bible
school
studies.
And Bible study.
God is strong. He is there with you. He will always be with you. I know that, and I knew that. Thank God I knew that. Anyway, he did. I said, if you're ever there, you better be right. I've taught all these young people at Falls Creek. We've told this, but you better be as strong or as big as I said you were. And he was. So every morning we got up, had breakfast, and there you three were looking. And I know you were hoping that we're going to be okay. Mama's going to not fold. And he gave us strength to do that.
Yeah.
This is such I can't describe a lot of this, but
Right.
he did. I was blessed to be able to get up, and I knew where to go. That's all I had. For once, I couldn't work hard enough or be good enough or do enough to make him come back.
Yeah.
And God showed me different, small things. I think in January, which is, I'm skipping around a little
Well,
bit.
that's okay.
It was dreary, and we'd gotten through Christmas. We had sent out a letter. We were still on overdrive, and God was still holding us just to walk around. And so I wrote a nice Christmas letter and, stuff that you can do at
Just
that point.
normal things to try to help.
Try to be normal.
Stay. Yeah.
And we got through that. Everybody was back in school. And I remember going to my bedroom. We had a horse looking over the fence. And I was sad. And I said, okay, I remember saying in my heart, okay, we passed this test. We don't hate you. We're not mad at the parents where Mark was staying. The children are okay. Now I want my son back. I passed the test. In my head, I was thinking that. And so I felt like God gave me a picture. And there was Mark sitting on his lap, which he always sat on his dad's lap, at this age even. And Mark circled his fingers and did a okay sign. In my head, you say what you want to.
Yeah.
That's what I saw. And I just smiled and thought, well, he's okay. He's got it. He was very lively, very loud, very with it. And at a ball game 2 months before that, he had embarrassed me because we played a little feisty team at Grant, I believe, that were all black boys, fast as lightning, good as they were, and Mark was lit up. He was having a blast, keeping up with them because that's his kind of deal. And he was just shooting lights out.
Yeah.
So he looked up at me from the circle, embarrassingly, and did the, okay, man, have I got this sign. I am red hot. And I'm going, oh, please don't act like it.
We talked
in
about
front
this
of
with Crystal
everybody.
last time.
We don't have to show it so much. But it was the exact same expression that I got on that January day. I'm sitting here, arm around him like he had on Dad the day before, and telling me I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I thought, all right, we got it. We're going to go on another day. And people were very, very kind, very good to us and to you all. I know you all are like I am at times now. You would say, I just want to go to school and no one mention it and no one look at me funny and no one look at me real pitiful because I don't want to think about that.
Yeah.
But I talked to you and Michael and Mindy at the table at the bar once and asked how you were, just ask outright how you were doing or how you grieved, and you said out loud, so did Michael even at little kid stage, that this is what he did when he was really sad, and you were able to express your feelings.
Yeah.
And they were very healthy.
Yeah.
And I was very, very intent. There was very little to read back then, but 2 or 3 books. And I went to a ladies' retreat with Kaylin, and it was just what I needed.
What you needed.
Even though it was young, early to do that. And so I read that, things that were available, and then I watched you all, and I did what they said, to ask what you should ask your child, and so forth. And the answers you gave back were right, even Michael. I remember saying, are you scared?
Yeah.
And he said yes. And are you afraid we will die? Yes. And are you afraid you will die? Do you feel like? And he said yes. So, and I had answers to reply to him. And I thought, okay, this is healthy. And my thing was to try to keep us, do everything we could, whether it was exercise, eat correctly, talk, read the Bible, pray, to do what would help us help us heal and not
Right. Get
hold
stuck
things
or,
in and get stuck. Yeah, that's a good word for it.
yeah.
So, and people were good. Brenda, my Ritter, was my friend across the street. We walked every day. We kept walking every day. And she said, I'll tell you what I can do. I can't do anything to get your baby back. And he and Ryan were best friends. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I will fast for you every Monday, and I will bring you supper every Monday night for 1 year. And she did, every Monday night, every Monday. So we walked and we talked and cried and laughed and
Smoked a few cigarettes in the garden.
yeah, hid behind the house, smoked a few cigarettes. That was about the den of evil for us then, we thought. But just friends were so thoughtful, and your friends were thoughtful. And
Yes.
I knew then, because not too long after that, another child in Atoka passed away. And then Jake Batchelor was killed. I mean, lots of death of children. And I knew God was letting me have the privilege of finding all this literature, because it wasn't out there like it is now.
No, not like it is now.
Finding books, what helped you to pass on forever,
Yeah.
because that's real life.
Mm-hmm.
But the promises of God being with me that I would read every day in the mornings, I wrote them. I wrote a booklet, put together that. All of that was just like he said.
Mm-hmm.
Come to me. I'm your stronghold. I will hold you in my arms. Don't fear. You've walked through the fire. You've walked through the water. I will have you. You're going to walk on the mountains like a mountain goat.
Yeah.
You're going to walk the hills and the valleys. And I read constantly anything that was out there.
Yeah.
And you'll walk with sure-footedness, and you will get to the end. And I will be with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized, too, the prosperity gospel of nothing will ever happen. And that confused a lot of people when
It was.
bad things did happen.
Yeah, because bad things do happen.
Because we're in an imperfect world.
no matter what,
And
yeah.
accidents happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe this. I know their songs and I get the message, but all things happen for a reason. Well, many times it isn't. It's because of neglect or accidents or accidentally not emptying every bullet out of a gun or walking on ice when you shouldn't have. Well, I don't know what that might be. Happens but I get the idea.
Yeah.
But for people who used to believe that and things happen, it's very shocking.
Yeah.
And it really tears them up.
Mm-hmm.
I knew Jesus said, in this world you'll have tribulation. Be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. Doesn't mean you're not have tribulation. It means I'm big enough to hold you up during those times. And that is the joy. And he said tears will last a while, but joy comes in the morning. And I know I told Christy Usher, she's told me that what a blessing it was that you said to me, I know you're dying right now, but you will be happy again. You will be different forever.
Yeah.
But God has joy in your heart, but it doesn't mean next week.
No.
Or 3 weeks later and you do stage 2. You might go to stage 4 of grieving or whatever and go back to another. And grief is a walk. It's not anything. But people, I do like what I read. People say the wrong things, but they mean to say the right things.
Yeah.
When people they say, oh, I know how you felt. My cat died. Well, they meant, I'm sorry. I know that your heart hurts. But we do have to tell ourselves things like that.
Yeah.
And I try to pass that on.
Yeah. And you don't have to say something, I think.
Exactly.
So, but because I'm terrible. We've walked through it, and I should be good at that, and I still feel like I
I'm not
need
good
to
at
come
it
in
either.
and just say something, and it's going to help. It's probably not going to help, and you're probably going to wish you could snatch that little statement back. But being there and
the power of presence.
bringing food,
Yes.
talking about the person,
Talking, yes.
reliving the memories, I do think I
Right.
can't, as a parent, and particularly a mom, since that's what we both are, to lose a child, it's another level of, if you have other kids, you still have to be the mom and the dad, and everything still has to keep going. There has to still be food and laundry, and people have to get where they're going. Not to mention your concern over, are you going to be okay? I'm concerned about your grief and your mental state and how you're processing it. And that's a lot to take in while you're having your own grief, and just the smallest kindnesses from other people mean food. We know I love
will
food.
always be a ministry.
And in a small town, I mean, there's a million things that drive you crazy about a small town, most of which we see very blatantly every day on Facebook. But there are also, those are the people who show up on the day when you're burying the person you love the most.
Yes.
Or the day you find out you have breast cancer.
Yes.
Or the day you find out you've lost your job, or you're going to lose your house.
Yes.
Or your kids are on drugs. Like, there are so many things, and I think, again, the power of community and small kindnesses, just being there.
Yes.
You don't have to say anything. You don't have to talk. You don't have to cook, but cooking helps. If you're a cook, show up with the food.
Really show up.
Right. I remember thinking, I mean, I was a senior, and I was still having a good senior year. Actually,
we did have good days.
In spite of that.
Yes.
But I can remember then thinking, I knew that for Brenda to fast
all day,
every day, every Monday for a year, while she's preparing food for our family, and also praying, and a million other people doing good things, but she was literally right across the street. That you don't forget that.
That's right.
And when in doubt, that's your answer. And Amy's done that for a lot of people, which is...
It's a huge ministry.
It's a huge ministry. So...
even if it's a store-bought cake.
Yeah, or a Diet Coke from the Sonic. Or literally come outside and we're going to hide in the garden and smoke a cigarette. Whatever it takes to get you... To
just show I'm here.
Through. Yeah. And it does matter, and it does help in the healing process.
Small towns are exactly what you said. And I do see the good thing of Facebook, because I've told John about it when he laughs about some of the crazy stuff, and he's not on it. But I've said, yes, but the ladies and men too are so helpful during this grieving processes, during the suicides we've had.
Yeah, we've had
the
so many.
drug addictions and illness or death from that. People are not judgmental about it. These women are helping one another.
Yeah.
And the daddies have said a thing or two. They feel free to say, today is so bad, I hope I can live till tonight. My heart is so crushed. And another young mother, or not young, any aged mother, will come along and answer and give a good help. Just, I'm there, I understand. Yes, I'm so sorry, I'm praying for you today.
Call me if you need something.
Anything.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't happen so much if we didn't have Facebook.
Yeah, we just know.
And we happen to know the people
Know
and
everybody.
realize.
Yeah.
And it's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. We got a lot of fun stories, and
thankful for all the fun.
Thankful for all
that we had before and after.
Well, and the keeping going. I know we went snow skiing in March. After that, November.
Yeah, we did, with all the cousins.
Went with Pat and Judy Loftus, their family, Ben and Ronnie, their family, Pat and Judy's foreign exchange students, all 5 of Ben and Ronnie's, and 4 of us, 3 counting Clint. And good story for Judy.
That's right.
She didn't get... arrangements quite large enough for our group.
Right.
But it was wonderful for us.
Yeah.
We needed that family so tight.
Yeah.
But I know Clint and Keith
Clint and Keith slept on the dining room
top
table.
of
One
the
on
dining
the table,
table.
one under the table.
Pat and
That's
Judy
right.
on a couch,
some bunk beds
hanging out.
or something.
They had 6 girls on a 4 bunk bed set
Yeah.
up, and Michael and Mary were at the bottom of our beds on the floor. In Callan, I think. I mean, it was hysterical.
Yeah.
And we all griped and laughed. But that was the best. To be surrounded by people is good.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the tightness
Mm-hmm.
of God. And I know
Mhm.
when, well, I just still people say things, and people have put things on Mark's grave,
Mhm.
students did,
Mm-hmm.
that were a big blessing. Some I know, some I don't.
Yeah.
And I was telling somebody once, I said, we've had $80 footballs
Mhm.
placed on that grave.
Mhm.
Nobody stole a thing.
Yeah.
We've had lots of things. Mindy made Mark 2 things before she went to OU because they were going to go together with Ryan. And she made a hat. Looked pretty tacky, but a hat with the little flowers around it. And I'll be darned if somebody didn't steal that off
Steal
the grave. She made another one. They stole it too. And she said the 2 things that cost $5, and it was mine for Mark, and somebody stole.
So if you're out there and you stole the hat,
So if you stole the hat,
Mindy's after you.
but just thoughtful kids. We couldn't
Mhm.
have been more loved on.
Yeah.
And then made, the rest of my life, I knew things that I needed to do, gave me
Mhm.
purpose.
Yeah.
And
Helps
you all went on to college. You got
Yeah,
married.
got
We had lots of
married.
weddings.
Yeah.
And Crisis Pregnancy Center came about during that time, and that was to minister to girls who were dying
Yeah.
inside, needed help. But lots of
Yeah.
weddings and babies and
All
oh
kinds
my,
of things.
good.
That's right.
Then we're getting to the grandchildren
Oh, that's right.
things, which
So
were
yeah,
awesome.
they are good.
Well, what do you think about? What are some things that you thought about? You've said most of them probably about that. Maybe about that time in your life,
Yeah, I think it was good. Like in spite of
in spite of the bad.
that, and when you're a teenager, you're living your own life anyway. More than, I mean, you're still somewhat
Yes, you're
consumed
still
with your
every
own
day is a life at
and
school.
activities, and I had a good time, and we had a lot of good memories. But I feel like if your life does go on, it sounds
Yes.
super cold-hearted to say that, and if you've just lost someone, that's not directed at you. But just the cycle of
Well,
life
teenagers,
is
you
that
do.
I mean, just like my mom, your life comes and you live it, and then you go on, and the next generation comes up, and all of these things are, I would say, most definitely in my life, beautifully woven together,
That's
full
a
of good things, and
Yes.
yes, hard things and sad things, and all of that's real, and there is no life without hard things. Like, there can be
Down on
wonderful
earth,
things
yeah.
too, but even in the hard, you see.
Yes, and I've had my share of the wonderful.
Yes, oh yeah, me
too.
too.
I know.
Definitely more in that category.
Speaking of the food, I have to remind you, it's such a good story.
Okay,
Because we were very busy all the time, and
yeah.
Marci wasn't
Ball games
particularly sitting in the kitchen cooking all of her life. She was very
no, I was
busy
not.
doing activities.
And I'm still not.
But she helped if I needed any. But I was just treading water, and we were just going on God's strength and going to activities and doing things. And I'd try to have, because I still ate at home a lot and had supper back in the day, in the 80s, so we still did that a lot. And so one day she came in. We were trying to eat real healthy. One day she came in, and she could tell I had nothing, and her eyes kind of darted around, and she said, well, I'll just do supper tonight. And I thought, oh, well, that'll be good, because she is old enough to pull something together. She went to the freezer and looked around, probably got a chicken strip, I
I don't
think.
know, yeah.
Not
Sure.
much. And she
Schwann's
said,
chicken
okay,
strips.
so tonight, that's what it was. Tonight we're going to have Schwann's chicken strips. She was going to cook a healthy meal. And we're going to have corn and potatoes and macaroni and cheese.
That's right.
And I thought, well, good, because we can do that. You can, able to do
Yeah.
that. All carbs and fried chicken.
That's right.
Sounds like a deal to me. And I thought that is the cutest thing ever. Go for it, girl. Forget the green beans and salad.
right.
So we had a good time. And one other thing, you were a real blessing to me,
Well,
because you were very positive. And you were
Annoyingly so.
you were positive it was
I
going to be okay, because you wanted it to be.
Because I
and
wanted it to be,
you
yeah.
knew it could be. And it was our turn to have Christmas with with Ben and Ronnie
Yeah.
and the whole gang. all the in-laws and the grandparents and everyone at our house, and we had a large enough house. And I said, I don't know if we can do Christmas Eve or not.
Which is literally a month after. I can't believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Marci said, oh, yes, we can. You can just hear, I'll help. And Debbie had given you a wonderful pasta maker from scratch for your birthday in October. You said, I'll just make pasta and we'll have spaghetti and meatballs for everybody, like 30 people. So she did.
Like 50
And
people.
I could tell she really, everybody wanted things to stay as normal. And I thought, we do need to just have that. And so we did. So Marci, maybe Mindy helped. I don't remember that.
I'm sure everyone helped because
Making dough. I don't recall helping do any dough at all, but she had that thing going all day long the day before. And we hung noodles
on hangers.
on coat hangers, hung on every
Yeah.
cabinet door in the kitchen and utility. I'm sure they were sanitary.
It did taste good. I
But
remember that.
we
Brent
had a-
Phillips gave the rece. It was good,
Yes.
but it was crazy.
Was it Alfredo, I bet.
Yeah. Fettuccine Alfredo.
Marci
yeah.
pulled it off. If it hadn't been for her, I was like, I don't know how to do it.
Well,
It
yeah, who
was
cares about
hysterical.
Christmas at that point? But
We had
did.
the best. It was good. It's good to be around family and surrounded
Yeah.
by people that you love. But it was,
yes.
I can't believe we didn't have
Yeah.
a picture of it myself. But oh well.
Yeah.
But we did. God granted such peace when we just needed.
Well, when that's
We
you
could-
were going to
that's all
die
you
without
had.
it. Yeah.
I remember thinking my heart might have been beat.
Yes.
Feels like somebody took a hammer and beat it out of my body. And
Yeah.
I'm going to die if you don't give me some
Help.
peace.
Yeah.
Or when he did. Enough to get ready. I don't mean it was sunshine that second. I just meant we had enough strength for that bit
Day to day.
come.
Remember, you
night.
used to sing that song, One Day at a Time. What was
I know,
that
I had
lady's
to sing
name?
that at one.
Christy something.
Who did? Wasn't Wanda Jackson.
Christy Lane. I'm not
No.
sure. We've got the worst memory sitting in this chair. But, yeah, the One Day at a Time song. And that kind of
That's the
corny
truth.
now, but it's accurate.
It is
And
the truth.
He does, yeah.
It is the
get you
truth.
through. That's right.
So,
Well, we did
Anyway.
that. And then we kind of moved on and,
had your wedding,
yeah, had a big wedding.
Mindy's
wedding, Michael's wedding.
Michael's wedding, and
That's
then
right.
little Sydney
That's right.
came.
Sydney showed up on the scene,
1996.
That's right.
First precious
grandkid.
grandbaby.
and we all acted like we had, the best new
Oh,
toy
gosh.
ever.
She was the easiest, prettiest
yes.
little baby ever in the world.
Yeah,
Came out smiling and
She's
beautiful.
still smiling.
and still
That's
is.
right.
So we had, and then Gaby was
Yes.
born in 99.
Yeah, and then
When-
we had our second round of excitement.
My dad had passed away in there
Right
after
then?
being very ill
Yeah,
right before Sydney was born.
right.
And Granny had passed away.
That's right.
And I was still at the pregnancy center. Everybody was working, teaching,
Yeah.
college,
Mm-hmm.
going to school, going
Yeah.
to college. It was very,
Yes.
very much a fun time.
Yeah, everybody was getting their
So-
beginnings.
Anyway, Michael had come back,
Yeah, he was working.
was
with
working
Clint
at the
and Dad.
shop, and found out he had testicular cancer in 1999.
Mm.
That was a tremendous shock.
Mm-hmm.
But he did have it. I mean, he did go immediately. We had a good doctor because of good friends,
Mm-hmm.
and I studied it on the
Yes,
computer.
vigorously.
That was not a smart thing to do, but anyway, I did understand what was happening. But
Mm-hmm.
and he did have it all over his
Pretty
body.
severely. Yeah.
But the prognosis that morning, after surgery and after visiting with the doctor, was chemotherapy for three sets at least, or four, and 99% chance
Mm-hmm.
of a cure
Full
rate,
recovery. Yeah.
full recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a huge, huge blessing to hear.
Mm-hmm. What were you thinking initially, though? I mean, I'm just thinking again. I was obviously concerned, but I was not the mom. So I'm thinking, what, you get that diagnosis. Anytime you get a cancer diagnosis, it honestly, the prognosis can be whatever it is, but you immediately think it's not going to be good. And I'm thinking, what were you thinking as a mom? I mean, I don't remember how much, that would have been about 10 or 11 years after Mark's
Yeah, it was 11
death.
years after that. He was, well, I had studied it enough to know there were all kinds.
Yeah.
Then when he came in the morning of surgery and he said, Marvin Dale, the brother-in-law, knew that too. He'd studied it. He has all three kinds. That wasn't good. And
Yeah.
it is in
And it
his
had spread.
lungs tremendously, and his lymph nodes and lungs were also affected. But we're going to go and do the one surgery and then do chemos, and that was a very big, huge time to watch God work in Michael and Amy's life. But it was also such a huge scare, and he looked so sick. Once again, going back a little bit, when everyone in town knew about the surgery and that he did have cancer and how terrible the extent that it was, we knew Lance Armstrong had just had
it.
the big deal.
And the guy in Ada.
Some
Remember,
man in Ada.
there was a guy in Ada that had it, like an FCA guy.
FCA man.
And I'm sorry that I can't remember his name.
I can't either. But
he was going through
so
it too.
we had
so
never
we had
heard of it before.
Right.
And his dad guessed it way before the doctor did. And thank goodness he went on to a urologist. And he missed it a while and then just said, you need to find a doctor, that's it. Well, thank goodness for Jill Stewart.
Right.
That told us some doctors in the city and did that. But he was, of course, terrified. He thought he was going to die with no hope because of so much. But anyway, he had his surgery and was coming home, and he did hear the prognosis after surgery that some men just won't be sick, so they just quit and then they die.
Yeah.
Like, who does that? If they tell you it's 98%.
Go to the doctor. Go to the doctor.
So he did the chemo, but when we walked in, it had been raining. It was terrible. They were in a new house, new baby.
Yeah, new baby.
And Brian Kathy and Sharon Kathy had gotten refrigerator boxes and air conditioning boxes and covered their yard, which was solid mud.
Right.
Made a sidewalk. Just the coolest thing. I'll never forget that, so that they could get into their house even.
Yeah.
And all the kinds of people turned out to help and be supportive. But yeah, I think for Dad it was the hardest because Michael worked in the same room with him.
Yep.
And he's thinking, another son? What?
Yeah, I can't do that.
This can't happen again.
Right.
We can't do this another time. And of course he was extremely ill and lost his hair and his eyelashes and was very sick.
Yeah.
And it was very hard to watch. I felt like God had told me, not told me, but impressed on my spirit that he was going to be all right. And we had the prognosis to say that.
Yes.
But it was very strong in my heart that he was going to be fine. And that's another story. I have lots of stories.
Yeah.
But from Scripture about Hezekiah
Yeah.
and stories that happened that I was reading. And so I felt positive about it, but it was very hard to watch. And Amy was a very good wife
Man, yes, she was.
and did everything
Still
she
is,
could
Amy.
do. And one day when we were pretty low about having to have another treatment,
Yeah.
she brought Gabe over with Granny's wig on her head and walked in the door just the right moment. God knew we needed that, and Amy was sensitive about those times and days.
She knew.
Here she came in with Gabe with this big brown curly wig on, and it's 6 months old. It was good.
Yeah.
And just different things I know that God helped me with. And the night that or the morning I got up as they were going
For the surgery, for the second or third.
the first chemo,
He had to
I
have,
guess.
yeah.
Anyway, I looked out the back door and I
Mhm.
could still see their house because it was winter. And I saw them just that minute putting Gabe in the back seat in the car seat.
Mm-hmm.
And he was walking around to drive, and she went to get in the car 5:30.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, seriously, is this happening?
Mm-hmm.
That was
Mm-hmm.
the most horrible, sad time that I
Yeah,
had probably
yeah.
during his whole
Mhm.
illness. Looked over on the counter. There's a letter from Kay Arthur,
Mm-hmm.
who's old by then, like 20 years since I'd first. But I
Mhm.
kept getting all these good things to
Newsletters,
read
yeah.
through the years. And it said, God is a holy God, and He sees the hearts of those who are down below.
Mm-hmm.
It was just perfect for
Mhm.
that. And I thought,
Yeah.
thank you, God. You know, and you knew exactly when I needed to have
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah.
It's open. I hadn't even read the newsletter yet, but it was in dark print.
Mm-hmm.
Those times
Mm-hmm.
are what has carried me.
Yeah. Through.
Every time there was some word
Yeah.
that said, I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be all right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm God. I'll hold you. I'm handling
Mhm.
this. I love you. Jesus said,
Mhm.
whatever. And that's just, it's the answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
He never, ever failed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's amazing. I
Yeah.
can remember thinking, I'd just like to shout this out to everybody. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Because you just can't, long time ago. If I
Yeah.
told you every detail of what's happening, you wouldn't believe.
Mm-hmm.
And they
All the
have the
ways he's
same
been
story
good.
a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Many people have many
Mhm.
stories very similar. That's the good part.
Yeah.
But, oh my, but then the grandbaby's coming.
Yeah.
Oh my,
Yeah.
that's just been the most fun ever. That's the gifts.
Yeah.
And to watch you all grow
Mhm.
up and
Yeah.
serve God and go to church and play with your families and train them up and then they get older and they say things and I watch them mature
Yeah.
and love you all, love each other, love God, want to please Him. And that would sound like, oh, everything's just roses here. I don't mean everybody's perfect. It's
No.
just
Yeah.
that
No. You-
everybody's
yeah.
that everyone understands. I think
Well, and we're all still walking it out.
we're all still
the-
alive.
The truth is,
Yes.
yeah, some of us are, myself included, questioning things all the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Like, not.
Am I
I
real
mean,
sure about this?
yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes, yay, it's easy to have faith, and sometimes I don't know about any of this.
Yes.
And that's just the honest truth.
And
of-
Jesus says that
of
with His
that.
disciples did the same
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing's new under the sun like
Mhm.
that. Yes, when I say how wonderful and this and that, they all have questions.
Yeah.
We still have questions. John and I have questions.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and go, gee, I hate to admit this, but sometimes I
Yeah.
wonder. And,
Yeah.
and I'm sure not perfect, hateful person. Or
Well,
you
life
know,
just does not typically, it does not end up wrapped up in a pretty little bow.
in a bow,
like,
in a straight line.
We're
Yeah.
kind of trained in America to think it's, well, and I say that actually in the season that we're in now, that is not the feeling anyone has. Everyone is, stressed to the max,
Yes.
not sure about a lot of things.
A lot of things.
And that is still okay, but I feel like we're always looking for the story has to just end right here.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, part of the story ends, and yes, good things have come out of bad.
Sure.
Also, out of the story, terrible stuff still
It's
happens.
still happening,
And
yes.
you've also been through a late in life divorce,
Mm-hmm.
and that is no fun. And health, like
Mm-hmm.
that you coming into the season where you're like, okay,
Yes.
I'm not 50
Yes.
and I don't like it.
Mhm.
Or I'm 50 and I'm not 30 and I don't like
I
it.
don't like it
I don't,
either.
yeah, I'm like, if you can see this neck, that's what I don't like. Daniel and Sierra are working their magic, so we'll see how bad the neck is.
No
I'm going to
kidding.
hold the microphone right here. But like just seasons of life come that
It is
sometimes
seasons.
it's really fun and sometimes it sucks. And I would never have said that before I'm 50. Mom would have spanked me because we could not have eaten. We were not allowed to say but
I
or
know.
fart or look, I'm giving a whole string of cuss words right here.
Real
That's
cuss
right.
words.
Now we say those words plus a few more. But you just want people to know real life is messy.
Yes.
Fun, hard, sometimes happy, sometimes gut wrenching, still
Exactly.
good. And if you look for what I know that I've seen in you forever since day one is that you have always looked for the good in things and not pretended that there were not bad and not said that nothing was bad because some things were terrible. We've talked about them and we haven't even talked about all of them, some of the worst. But we look for the good, say thank you for the good, and try to not always be looking at our own selves. You're very good at, you're an Enneagram 2, Helper Deluxe, Encourager Deluxe. You've written, I don't know how many cards to people, and note cards to myself on little index cards with encouraging sometimes scriptures and sometimes just, I love you and you're great. Or these are what I see in you, go do whatever. That is priceless. And if two moms, because momming is hard and there's no manual and you're literally
no kidding, with every child.
Going by the seat of your pants a good portion of the time, trying to not screw your kids up and still live a life yourself. I mean, just knowing, teach them to say thank you, love them, let them play and make a mess, cook a meal, teach them how to fold underwear, teach them how to cook more than chicken strips.
Oh, that's good.
And encourage them in the things. I mean, I was
And
old.
the things they love.
Yeah, and in the things they love. And you have done all of that for us, the grandkids, and a million other people, and taken the heartache and told someone else, I know, me too, I get it. Don't give up. Maybe it's not going to be good for a minute, maybe a lot of minutes, but you're not by yourself. I have felt that. My friends have felt that, because when you look back at your friend group, I mean, your friends are, I love your friends. And it's funny how I hope all of my friends, and I hope everybody listening has a mom with friends like yours, because they're all totally unique and totally different. And they've lived 1,000 hard things too.
Yes, they have.
Some similar, some differences, faced betrayals and heartaches and loss,
illness,
and all the things. And I have seen you. I mean, the Steel Magnolias movie is true. Women are tough and
Yes.
beautiful, and I have witnessed all of them just keep going
Exactly.
and not layer. Yes, they probably did lay around and cry and drink and smoke and whatever else they had to do for a minute to get through, stay in church, but they have persevered, and they are some of the most beautiful. I mean, you're obviously the most beautiful person to me, but your friends are
Oh, they are.
also
they're
beautiful.
A hoot, and they're
And-
strong women.
Yeah, strong women. And we're talking about Patsy, one of your dearest high school friends, has terminal cancer right now. And it's, even in that, she's still laughing and living as much as she can in the worst.
Honestly.
And I do
Yes.
think that your people were not as free when you were young as we are now.
I think so. That's true.
To just say,
When I was 30s or 40s.
yeah, the pressure
Then
was to
we-
kind of doll it up
Oh, yeah.
and maybe not tell your stuff. And listen, please don't tell all your stuff to everybody. Not everybody deserves to hear your stuff. But
No.
if you can find a tribe like you've
yes.
had,
Yes.
you do need to share your stuff. And that is one of the things that makes life rich and beautiful.
And makes you a good friend.
Yes.
If someone thinks, if you're not honest,
Yeah.
they think you have it all together,
Yeah.
then nobody wants to be with
No,
somebody
no one
all
wants to have
together
lunch
all
with
the
you.
time.
Sorry. Yep.
Or whatever.
That's
you
right.
know, if I've told you the other night, this is stepping back a bit, but some of you know Johnny Knight, just a hoot, good friend. We'd been to Falls Creek together. We worked kids
Yes.
together,
She's the best.
had a good time, and outspoken. I remember going into the to Walmart after Mark passed away, and I would wear whatever. I didn't care. I was a normal grieving person. I wore holy clothes.
Yeah.
Didn't even have my shirt on right a time or two. Crazy stuff like normal. And Johnny came up to me and she said, "Cindy, I just want to tell you something, sister." Got me by the arm. And she said, "You know, you always try to talk to me about God and visit, and we talked about him and did this thing. And I'll tell you, I thought, well, I know you're happy about it. You ought to be happy." Just cute as she could talk. She said, "Your kids are all fine. They're all cute and pretty. You have all the money you need. Everything's going good. I bet you're a happy girl," or something, teasing me. But she meant it. I understood what she was saying. She said, "Now you've lost your son. You've faced the most horrible thing I can think of. And you're still the same. You still love Jesus. I want to hear about that Jesus." That's how people feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's true with your lives. If everybody's got it made, you don't feel very comfortable. And of course, they don't have it made. But if everything's going well, of course you like God and you want to go to church and everything's good.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see if he's still big enough when things bad happen.
Mm-hmm.
And a man talked to Dad and said, "You've been trying to get me to go to church for years. You've invited me to church for years. Now I'm going to listen to you because you've been down this terrible road and you're still there."
Mm-hmm.
And he did come. He and his wife started coming to church and got saved and realized it isn't just how you look on the outside. God is there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you do have, and sometimes times are very hard. They're very different. Social media has not been a friend in many ways. And a lot of expectations and comparisons are driving people crazy. But right now, the world is just in a turmoil ever since COVID began and now has ended and different. And it's not all that, but things are different.
Yeah.
And we have to be good to each other. I'm with you on the strong. Part of what I'd written was, we're strong women. We do keep on and keep on. In my birthday letter that you wrote, I loved the very last words you've said, and I've seen them more and said them more. Life is hard. You didn't say this part, but like you were saying a while ago, lots of life happens. Lots of things are hard. You go through a lot of things by 75. And then in big capitals, don't quit. And that's what I think. And that's what Pat's not doing that. She's there for the duration, and she's not going to quit. And I think we have to say that to one another at this age, my age.
At any age.
Just hang in there.
That's right.
That used to be the word, hang in there. Now it is, don't quit, because the tendency is to do that. And the doubting is so normal and so much of what Jesus lived with and through and his disciples did. We're realizing it's a shame to make people feel guilty for doubting.
Well, you cannot
things.
have faith if you don't have a doubt.
Right.
If it's a certainty,
if you don't question
then
something.
what's the mystery?
Yeah.
And a lot of life is not going to be explained away, and certainly not by
humans.
Humans. That's right, and
Yeah.
certainly not by people. Not modern day America is not going to answer your question, and we've gotten a lot of things. I love America, but we got a lot of things to fix, and we have some very shameful things in our past
Still,
that the
that aren't
church
fixed.
participated in, and so I do think the new we're moving in the right direction, and just say little until you've lived. You probably don't need to talk
A long
until you're
time.
75, honestly. I
Don't
wish I could
talk.
snatch back most of the things I said in my 30s. I'm trying not to say everything in my 50s that I want to say, because I know I want to snatch that back.
Because when you're 70, you're going to wish you didn't say
That's right.
that.
There's a lot of expletives that I'm holding in, at least in front of anyone. No, but I feel like you have lived you've lived life well and real, and I am thankful for
Oh, I'm glad you
your life.
think
And
that.
I've had a great life because of a lot of the sacrifices of not just you, but Granny
Yeah,
and Papa
others
and
before
Mama and
us.
Papa and Dad and all the people who have gone before that, and just
And we do
because
that.
of a lot of the people that are your friends and mine because
Mm-hmm.
of it. So, well, thank you for coming on.
Oh,
It's
I've
been a
had
fun
good time.
visit, and
I'm blessed. I didn't get to say at the end of life I've gotten one of the best blessings, and that is my husband of 9 years, John
Yeah.
Burks.
he's a bonus.
And oh my goodness, what a blessing God's given me through him, and how much he loves my family and how
Yep.
much I love his family, till we're all one
Mhm.
family.
That's right.
So have to get that in.
Yeah, you do have to get that in. We got to give props.
Yes, I've got to tell that.
Anything that you want to say to a mom, either going through a hard time or just at a particular phase, or any bit of mom advice that you think is just good for anybody in general?
Oh, I think absolutely don't quit. You're not that far gone.
That's right.
Just hang in there.
There's still hope.
Don't quit, but don't be too hard on yourself. Be honest. We all have guilt.
Mm-hmm.
I was a screamer. I'd love to take some of that back. It was not healthy.
I don't remember the
I
screaming,
did.
but I did some screaming.
There
so
are
hopefully kids just don't
things
remember.
everybody doesn't do well,
Mhm.
and then there are things we excel at. Don't live in the past looking back.
Mm-hmm.
Do your best now. Don't guilt yourself. Build yourself up through the Word of God, through taking care of yourself physically, through giving yourself a break, a rest, a
Mhm.
change. Just don't quit. Your kids need you.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
Thank you for having me. I've had a
Yes.
good time visiting.
Anytime.
Always.
You're always welcome. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, please like, follow, and hit subscribe to keep up with all future episodes. We'd also love for you to leave us a 5-star review. That wraps it up for today's Marci in the Middle. And remember, whatever you're in the middle of, you're not alone. We'll see you next time.